I thought there was no way you knew me. And even if you did know me, Jungwoo. The fans who like me, even knowing what kind of idol group I was in, were all total perverts. What? I mean, yeah, I guess. Howdy hey, Fujos and Fudans, I'm Alec and welcome to Fudanshi Bimyo, the sort of video series wherein I talk about different BL comics that are available in English. Today we're going to be looking at Miss You Lucifer, a series by Moscareto with art by Okdong. Now you can get this both on Lejin and on Manta. However, I do have to note the Manta version is censored. However, from what I can tell, the Manta version has like the extras and what have you, the epilogues, that I don't seem to see on the Legend version, so pick your poison, I guess. But the premise is essentially that Lucifer, who is this low-ranking, bottom-of-the-barrel idol belonging to a group called the Sweet Devils, is trying to make it big in sort of like the entertainment industry. You know how those idol things work. Actually, you'd probably know better than me. I'm not into K-pop that much, but I have osmosed enough from having read like idol-themed manga and manhwa. But Lucifer is trying very much to raise in rank, get to be, a top-ranking, big celebrity idol. And during one of his many sort of like dredgy appearances that he has to do in a chicken suit. And during one of these appearances, he has to share the stage with A-list celebrity and devilishly handsome actor Kwon Jun Kang. And as he is preparing for this and lamenting about his sad, miserable climb to the top, he happens to blurt out that Kwon Jun Kang is very much his cup of tea and that he would like to sleep with him. As is tradition in sort of like the crazy world of BL, he says this out loud, like fully out in the open as he is doing his preparations and what have you. And who would overhear if not Kwon Jun Kang himself? It is mortifying to watch, in all honesty. And as luck would have it though, not only does Kwon Jun Kang reciprocate Lucifer's feelings, but, shock surprise, he's a Lucifer superfan? And has like a Twitter dedicated to him and all of that stuff, which is kind of like really, interesting because you've seen a lot of like more meta going things. Actually, I don't know if meta is the right word for it, but you see a lot of these themes of like celebrity and just like internet fan culture coming to more media, which is really interesting to see from like a different perspective because obviously Korean Twitter and fan culture is very different from like Western fandom culture, so that's kind of a nice glimpse into that sort of thing. But the bulk of the manhwa is essentially just like navigating their relationship and trying to work out like what exactly are they to each other. As I mentioned earlier, the Manta version is sort of like censored, and not just like a blurry censor, but like they literally cut out frames that are very more suggestive. The Legend version is not uncensored, like you're still gonna see nothing, but it is a very suggestive nothing. Even with that in mind, I wouldn't really rate it that spicy, maybe 3 out of 5 spice. There are scenes, definitely. There are some more spicy scenes, but even still, like, it's very far and few in between, and while it does convey like, oh, they're having the nasty, it's not particularly nasty. Maybe even 2.5. Yeah. 2.5 out of 5 spice. Now on the real to BL slider, which is essentially just my way of going, how realistic is it? How silly is it? How outlandish and crazy and only happens in BL is this? I would probably put it roughly like here. And I would say it's pretty high just because, not because the world is particularly crazy or that the premise is particularly crazy, but the comic just focuses so much on the characters that because they are absurd, they in themselves are absurd, and they are really the only things that you interact with here. That kind of skewers it a little. It's very much, would real people kind of do this? Who knows? Maybe celebrities would, actually. I don't know what our celebrities, real people, discuss. As to whether or not you should read this, I would recommend this manhwa if you are into A, idol culture, because that's what it's all about. B, like kureres, or just like the gapmoe of like a cool, tachi, seme, whatever you want to call it, a cool top, acting all suave and what have you, but having like this secret geeky dorky side to them. You should also really read this if you are into like miscommunication and mutual dumbassery, because there's a lot of dumbassery to go around between the two of them. And if you're looking for something quick, because the progression of this comic is really, really quick, that definitely, if you're looking for a short read, have at it. Now for the list of whether or not you shouldn't read it, you shouldn't read it if you are easily secondhand embarrassed. Like, the amount of cringe you sometimes get watching this is like, ugh. Reading, watching, same thing. The other thing is if you are easily frustrated, like, you know, the other side of mutual dumbassery is just like wanting to shake your head or shake their heads when they are just so fucking dumb. Like, why would they do this? Why? If you're the kind of person who gets really frustrated, this might not be the comic for you. If you're looking for like a lot of investment, like I said, it's a short 16 chapter manhwa. Like, there's not really a lot to get invested into. And if you prefer serious stories or art, this probably isn't it. And not just, you know, not just like the themes of it, but this comic is definitely, you know, has like a lighter tone to it. A lot of the art goes from like serious, as in, you know, fully rendered whatever, to a lot of like jokey, chibi kind of like styles. And that's, you know, if that's the kind of thing you like, more power to you, but that's not really for everyone. And I think it could be a major turnoff, especially considering sometimes even during the like spicy scenes, they shift to like comedic, like blah blah, and you know, it's not really for everyone. There you have it. Links down below for where you can find this comic and even where to follow the author. Well, in this case, I just found the author. I couldn't find the artist's Twitter, but also links down below for where you can get in touch with them and, like, you know, tell them you like their comic. And this is the part of the video you stop at if you haven't read it yet, but this is the part you continue on to if you have read it and just want to know what I thought. Shublam. Now, one thing I will have to say about this is I'm not a huge fan of like idol culture, so I feel like some of the things are lost on me, and you know, that's fine. One thing I'm not sure about how I feel about is just how quickly it progressed. I mean, I get it, it's a short comic, but it still sometimes felt like, okay, what are we gonna do for the rest of the comic if this is what we, you know, already established early on? I also worry if there are things that were like lost in translation to me, because like I called them like mutually dumbasses, but I feel like some part of that is just like maybe the translation wasn't so great, or maybe just like there were things lost in translation, because there were points in time where I did not understand why Lucifer, Jungwoo, would like jump to the conclusions he was jumping to, and why Kwongjin would not correct him, you know? Like, why? Like, sometimes, you know, there's a lot of miscommunication that happens in BL and yaoi. It's just like, yeah, that's kind of like a huge thing in a lot of these comics, but it came to the point where I wasn't even really sure why there was miscommunication. Like, what was to be lost by clarifying? It seemed a little more superfluous than normal. What I do like is that Lucifer was very assertive. Like, he wasn't just like, oh, yeah, I know. He was, you know, not your typical blushing neko that you see a lot of in these manhwa. And I think part of that is because, like, manhwa now kind of like are not repeating, but it feels a lot like early 2000s BL, like manga. As if, like, you know, we haven't gotten past that yet in manhwa, because, you know, it's still kind of like newish. Like, we're going through the same trends and patterns that manga did, whereas, like, you know, this level of miscommunication and not wanting to talk to each other as like the main point of conflict feels very much like early 2000s BL. The pacing was a little fast, which was both good and bad at certain times. I think good because it's like you didn't dwell on like certain things for too long, but bad in the sense that okay, I guess that was it, that was done. But even saying all that, I love idiots. I love the miscommunication trope, so even though there are parts that confused me, I was pretty on board for it. Now, the thing is, like, as much as I love dumbass to dumbass, I wasn't really that invested in the story. However, what I did find myself really enjoying was their dynamic in the epilogues. Like when, after all that miscommunication was said and done, and Lucifer was like, I'm gonna be a better idol now, and Kwon had just like fully embraced his like, I am your number one fan and I'm not gonna hide it sort of thing. The sort of omake where he would rage about like the how badly treated Lucifer was and just be like number one fan, like very stan like, was adorable. I thought it was really cute, and I would have preferred that they do more of that rather than, the rest of the angsting. It's not even really angsting, it's like angsting light. If they did like a second volume with that, I would totally be more into that, I think. Overall, it's not really my favorite. It was an okay comic to pass the time. Personal rating, 2.5 to 3 stars. And that's not, just because of how unspicy it was. It's just that maybe it's not my cup of tea. But hey, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Let me know what you guys thought, like whether or not you like this comic, whether or not you are into idol culture and all of that stuff. Was it a better read if you are into K-pop and that sort of thing as well? Because I think that, yeah, some of it was lost on me because I'm not into that. Let me know, like, what did you think? Am I, being too hard on the pacing and what have you of this? Or not? Do you think, like, do you think I'm right on the money? Who knows? This is what this video is for. This is partially for your sake to have someone to talk to, and again, my sake, for me to have someone to talk to. Well, that's it for this video. I don't really have anything else to say. Thanks a lot for watching, and keep watching this channel for more weird reviews like this. If there was anything you liked about it, anything you disliked about it, just, let me know. I am eager to hear back from you guys. See you next week for another video, maybe.